this is significantly different version of the paper from the one that is published in the book. So, as you can see, this paper could be called The Old Man and the Sea, from fiction to film, and from English into Arabic, or alternatively it could be called the challenges of the subtitle. This novel deals with the linguistic, cultural, and technical restrictions that translators have to address in the process of producing a particular target language translation, especially in the case of subtitling, as well as the degrees of freedom they are allowed to take, or the liberties they can safely take with their source text. Put in other words, the idea of this paper is to evaluate first which one of alternative competing translations, where in this case we are talking about The Old Man and the Sea, which one faithfully reflects the spirit of the original work, and which one at the same time is, let's say, more technically adaptable to the screen translation with the least manipulation. My argument in this paper is that in the case of the translation of literary works specifically adapted to films as a multimedia genre, or more generally in the case of audiovisual translation, the translator's freedom is further restricted by technical constraints that go beyond the purely textual aspects of translation proper. Let me say a few things about Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. So this novel was published in 1959 and was proclaimed as a success. It's a novel that depicts a human struggle, let's say, with nature. And there are interesting films in the novel. Given its success, it has been translated, or there are at least a dozen translations into Arabic, including Munir al-Ba'albaki. Maybe this is the earliest translation, that was in 1961. Ziad Zakaria, 1986. Gabriel Wahba, 1998. Samir Izzat Nassar, 2002. Our friend, Professor Hamid Zaid, 2007. Al-Qasimi, 2008. These are the translations that are included in this study. Of course, there are other translations that I couldn't find, including Salih Jawdat, Lila Abu Saliha, Yahya Abdi Rabbu, Adnan Malouhi, Fadil Habib Muhsin, and Ili Malla. So, we need then to address in this paper the following issues. Which screen adaptation of the novel of The Old Man and the Sea will be? Which screen adaptation? Okay, I'm sorry. In fact, we need to address, as I said, three issues. First, we need to talk about the screen adaptation. So, which screen adaptation are we going to refer to? In fact, as I'm going to explain, there are at least 3 screen adaptations of the novel The Old Man and the Sea. The second question is, what are the technical, linguistic, and cultural challenges when adopting any one of the previous literary translations, the Arabic translations of the novel The Old Man and the Sea, for the screen? And we will, in the meantime, consider specific features of subtitling which give it its unique nature, raising challenges for translation and at the same time triggering imaginative translations, imaginative solutions. Concerning the screen adaptations, as I said, despite the primary challenge to adapting Hemingway's novel to the screen, which is basically is that the novel has, let's say, one main character, which is the old fisherman. So despite this fact, the novel in fact has been adopted to the screen on at least 3 occasions. There is The Old Man and the Sea 1958 version starring Spencer Tracy. There is the 1990 version starring Anthony Quinn. And there is The Old Man and the Sea, which is a short, an Oscar short animated film. Of these 3 adaptations, the one that serves our purpose is the first one that features, that was in 1958, and that features Spencer Tracy. So I suggest we get a sort of glimpse of what this adaptation is about.
In the first 40 days of boyhood, and after 40 days of adaptation, the boy's parents reported that the old man was there definitely and family was so old, which is the worst form of adaptation. And the boy had gone there always in another boat, which caught 2 good fish the first week. The old man.
Okay. So at this point, there are at least, or there are some remarks that are pertinent at this point. First, we have the first subtitle, which is actually taken from OpenSubtitles.org. So, presumably, this subtitle conforms to the technical standards of subtitling. Unfortunately, it does contain a number of remarks. So, for instance, the first line says, كان هناك رجلا عجوزا يصطاد بمفرده. I hope I'm not wrong, so please correct me. To me, this is first shocking because it's not grammatical. And grammaticality is the primary, let's say, the first criterion we expect in some written work. So it's mentioned in this case just for what could be technically acceptable. But as I said, I'm not happy with it. The ideal thing is that one should be able to have his own preferred translation of the novel as a subtitle. Having, let's say, 5 subtitles aligned one by one is even more fun. Maybe it stops being fun, but it's still art. Okay, so we're going to consider, how much time do I have left? So I'm going maybe to move, I'm not going to dwell, I'm not going to consider the technical literature. I'm going rather to provide examples of the, let's say, challenges that face the translation of audio-visual media. And these challenges, these problems will be presented in the form of challenges numbered from 1, let's say, to 10. So the first challenge is that a term might occur in the source text, but not in the target language. For instance, in the very first line of the novel, the writer says, he was an old man who fished alone in a skiff in the Gulf Stream. So actually the term, the skiff, does not occur in Arabic as a single word. And many translators have rendered it as مركب شراعي صغير, as in the case of Gabriel Wahba, as مركب شراعي صغير, قارب عريض القعر, for instance. These actually can work, let's say, in a print translation, but when we try to adapt it to the screen, it does not work, simply because it occupies first too much space. That's one reason. The other reason is that it's insulting to the viewer, who have now access to the whole scene. So in some other work, if a term like skiff does not occur in Arabic, we could provide a definition in the form of a footnote, in the form of an endnote, but in subtitling, markab or markab صغير will perfectly do the job. Another problem is that the translator is sometimes tempted to come with a target language equivalent text that belongs to a different register than the source language. This is always a problem when we violate the register, but it is all the more of a problem in the case of audiovisual media, because audiovisual media is basically about dialogue, and we expect the dialogue. The chairperson is taking her revenge on me now. She's telling me I have finished. So basically this is it. That in addition to the usual classic constraints, restrictions, with which a translator is faced, like the discrepancy between languages, cultural problems and the like, the translator of the audiovisual media faces technical problems, which makes the job even more difficult. But if I were given the time, maybe we can see that out of these restrictions, sometimes, especially in the case of those movies that are about action, the translator of subtitles can come with, in fact, with original and creative translations, like as much as in the translation of, let's say, advertisements or poetry. Thank you very much.